Shevan Rajam, Yanda Bansobe, Sanje, Ribadan Shasundem, the Varishavan Jitin, Jamba, Jibon de Biakanoja, Lana Meba, Lana Menanje, Sanje Junden, Benjawa Shaja, Dubana Chas, Children Jansu, Dumba, Junden, the Shishavan Rajama Yanda, Zobe Sanje, Ribadan Shasundem, the Varisham, Jitin Jamba, Jibon de Biakanoja, Lana. Tada Menanje de Masanje Jumden, Beja, Shaja, Chazino Judo, Jazo Jevon, Dema, Jumden, the Shin, Rajumba Yanda was of the Sanje, Vada Sansunde. The Orisha Banjidin, Jemba, Jivon, de Canon Juma, Nana, Tada Menanje de Masanje Jumden, the Beja, Shaja, Chazino Judo, Jazo Jev, Kanzekan, Sajen de la Commandant, and Jiden de la Churches. Tezekia Vajana Cha, Namda Bunga Chandu Sosa. Ishija Soseja Lumboda, Chavan Jede Sumana. Bombachuni Jana Cha, Senjon de Martinet. Sendon Dawa Jana Cha, Judeja Rasiva Suma. Yame Chenji Jana Cha, Zelon Gombo to Jedem. Tamje Jembe Dumabo, Solomon Danger, Distinction. 타변 대자체와 기ven에 손대로 제지도 되는 거죠. 신규적으로 자아제로 전에 제외로야 나바타나 람드네. 신경담바 연대된 견뎌로야 자아제로 디바치 연매자지. 기와변소소 라게 셈의 요소 되어 되는 선제된 말. 깔마라 레마메다 주마세 버치고 멜론로다 된다고 되제처럼 되더라. 선문대에 통제세와 고반dom내 전전전도 가도 나도 지면도 To
the teacher, the blessed one, the one the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, know of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, know of the word, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, know of the word, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When supreme among humans, you are born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies formed, supremely pure, wisdom ocean like golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 2 worlds, we know the best, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 words are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the teacher having all understanding, the field of merit with the qualities like a vast ocean, to you the one gone to thusness I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which flees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to that Dharma which pacifies and prostrate. Those who are liberated also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the law precepts, to you the sublime community intending virtue I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. The star, mirage, or flame of a lamp, illusion, a drop of dew or bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning or cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits, may sentient beings attain rank of all seeing, subdue the four forms, and be delivered from motion of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death.
Sanje chana zoje chana la chanchu pato tane je zoje dage je zoje be tsona dola benje sanje drebo chuwa sanje chana zoje chana la chanchu pato tane je zoje dage je zoje be tsona je dola benje sanje drebo chuwa sanje chana zoje chana chanchu pato tane je zoje dage je zoje be tsona je dola benje sanje drebo sanje chana zoje chana la chanchu pato tane je zoje dage je zoje be tsona Rola benje sanje drebo shu, sanje chono, soje chono, changyo pato, tane jazu che, da benje soje be zono je, rola benje sanje drebo shu.
I go for refuge and enlightenment to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Tamje jemba la cha, zelon de da sanje chum de shi jemba da chum ma yang da ma zo be sanje drebo la shanzo de. Devar jemba jiden jemba jevon de be khalo jevon la na me ma la da me na je de ma sanje chum de so. De shin je wa de no sonan da ge de ma ge ve za wa na ma chum me zo ba se be ra do jemba sonan. Tera nam je she pe je sam bo nam je de ba chen nam je me do jemba ju ye re ma do ma to nam me jemba me. Tebe me ba na no mo ba ga ba she ram si je me do to nam me zo ba me sim je tam je je tem ba. Changju wa samba nam je ya ba pa be ka za na je je bo nya ngan le de bo to je na do ma na je de be. Je ba do me ba ba wa san je me je ba so na ba da ba ya ni ba ku je da be chom me je. Ku zo ba me ba de ba da ga ma ba zo da ga ni ba ma ba zo me ba da ma do ba do me na na ba do. Po ba da na na ba do ba kham na da me de ba je je na ma da ma de ba na shin de je ba yo zo do wa da na na ba do. Si ba le ju ba ju wa le ge ba yi shi yo zo de ba de ba do ma ju ba da da ju be san je jum de de je je na de. Yang da ma ni je da lan de ba sim je tam je la si be sa la shu ba de de da de san je jum de de ku chi ben yin de yang da ba na mo. Tam be shi ne to ma ge ba ba de ge ba ta ma ge ba de han san ba chen ro sin ma de ba yo zo ba yo zo ta. Yo zo chang wa yang da ba to ba ne me ba ju che ba me ba ni wa de mo de to wa la de yu ba ke ba ne je so zo ra ge ju ba ju. Chum de je la ba so be chen de wa la la ba to ma ni ba ju wa zo be cha ju de ba ju ba me de ba me ju de ba da ba de ba yu ba ju ba ju ba. Tewa achimbe bende da tewa shuba, shuba shuba, chumba shuba, tumba shuba, tema jebe, wezo juba, cha jebe, wezo juba. Sonam jebe ji xin yun yun, chungwa jimba jimbe na zo juba, kundongwa jimbe na zo juba, chenpo. Kange ya duze nye zunga, tawa tanje kumbe che, tambe chen de duze go, patam tena, cha ze mo. So yeah, so this letter to friend, from the beginning, Nagarjuna has mentioned about the six, 6 things to remember, right? 6 things to recall. So very important, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And then the practice of generosities, and then the moral ethic, and then the choosing the particular deity for individual, one's own deity. If you call Avalokiteshvara, Mañjugosha, Tara. So taking refuge, and I think here the be generous. The be generous is opposite of the, how to say, generous means is not to attach. So main thing is generous, not to attach. So you can the essence of generosity is not to attach. So generous is not necessarily dependent on the substance that you give. And also, the main thing is not to attach. And then the moral ethics. So these are important. Then I think after that, the main thing is renunciations. So renunciations means renunciations means kind of, there's some, usually sometimes we call Nyenjung is some kind of sense of, how to say, what do you call it? Yeah. Is kind of detached from the secular existence. There's some kind of, how to say, so detachment, and because you're detached from the secular existence, and the second is the very renunciations. One aspect that is liberations, desire to attain liberations, desire to achieve the enlightenment. So renunciation means you kind of, in the common language, you don't like, you dislike the cyclic activities, and you like liberations and the end of birth and cyclic existence. Now the question is, disliking the cyclic existence, I think disliking cyclic existence is not you. It's not like you don't like the cyclic, body. You don't like the consciousness. You don't like sensual objects. No, it's not like that. Detachments, by knowing the faults of the karma and afflictive emotions. So anything that is under the force, of afflictive emotions and the karma, anything that is conditioning the afflictive emotions and the karma. So that is, we are trying to renounce from it, not from cup, not from table. So we are trying to renounce from, from the how to say, something that is involuntary force, something that, you like happy all the time, but there's some kind of force and habit in you that cause you to do something, make you unhappy. So that the faults of the afflictive emotions and the karma, seeing the faults of the karma and afflictive emotions, and seeing the things that you do or you experience that cause more afflictive emotion and karma. So that's, we are trying to renounce from it. And renounce to, and then the end of birth in secular existence, cessation of the suffering. So, and then for that renunciations, we need to contemplate on impermanence, right? Impermanence, and particularly, specifically impermanence here, the death, contemplated death. And then understands the death is, there is no certainty in the death. The death is certain to come, but when the death happens is uncertain. So anytime it can happen. So that remind yourself, more often. So, and what is by doing that, by thinking about death and impermanence, what is benefit, to you is it will, you will gain some kind of awareness, you will gain some kind of heedfulness that prevents or restrains from engaging in negative actions. And then after that, I'm talking about what is the law and cause and effect. So law and cause and effect for the human beings, law and cause effect, like karma, positive karma, which brings the birth in human being and God being, and then God being. So the sentient beings in the God realms, and how they are lacking the opportunity to generating, practice of finding the path to liberations, because they are more kind of what do you call it? Their mind is not stable. They don't have any condition to seek for liberations. So then another negative karma that propel in hell realms, hungry ghosts, the animal realms. And they also have no chances to think or access to, access for the Dharma teaching. So then they talk about the hell realms and how many hell realms. There's so many hell realms. The main point now, and then what kind of, and what kind of renunciations, how once you generate the renunciation, what happened, within you, as a result of, developing these renunciations. So number 104, so it says, give up your effort trying to stop all your effort in trying to stop all this as if your hair or clothes had just caught fire. So this is like, once you develop this kind of genuine renunciations, you will be very, very, interested and exciting, and you're also very, serious, So just do your best to not be born again. So this is renunciation seeking to end the life, birth and second existence. So no greater goal or need is there than this. So that's the renunciations. Sometimes they translate as a definite emergence. Definite emergence. So you kind of, there's some kind of, trying to definitely finding some kind of freedom, So, because the two things, that is, because you seize the faults of the karma and afflictive emotions, that is making you more, serious to find the end of this. And another thing is you also see that there is the possible of attainment of the liberations. So yeah, this is the 104. So give up your efforts, trying to stop all this as if your hair and clothes had just caught fire. And then as a result of the renunciations, how the individual, go about practicing, exercising in the path and liberations. And then number 105 says, with discipline, the concentrations, wisdom too, attain nirvana. And then the peaceful, disciplined, so immaculate, right? Immaculate. What's that? Unaging, deathless, inexhaustible, and quite distinct from earth and water, fire, wind, sun, and moon. Suram Tadas, and some day share of the Yangan dish to a Timame, Timebe, Kobam Mekam Bichi, Meseva, such a memo, Ginda Chetum Zeus. Suram Tadas, some day share of the. So now, with discipline and the concentrations. So with discipline and concentration means disciplining body and speech and mind. So restraining, engaging negative actions, that is a discipline. And then you find the leisure time or more calm and steady mind. So contemplate the two buildings of dependent originations, contemplating the impermanent, contemplating and generating bodhicitta and compassion and wisdom realizing emptiness. So you need discipline and concentrations, focus, and the wisdom too. So, in order to attain nirvana. And what is the nirvana? Nirvana is peaceful. And so nyange de shi. Nirvana is the peaceful, disciplined, is subdued mind. The state of nirvana is subdued, tent. So uncontaminated. And and then free from aging and death in mega michi. Yeah. So free from aging and death. And inexhaustible, right? Exhaustible. So usually we call cessation is abundant good. So cessation is abundant good means, everything, with cessations, the eating, smelling, everything, is always joy and peaceful. And there is no any disturbance. There is no any uncomfortable. So the nirvana is abundant good, or plentiful. So yeah, in the commentary it says, with disciplines, the concentration of wisdom suits attain nirvana by means of the three training explained earlier, namely the training in discipline, the concentration, wisdom. You should attain stainless state, unsolicited, right? By afflictive emotions. So both the nirvana without residue, so that is the peaceful, because the tainted aggregates have been brought to cessations, and nirvana with residue, in which the sense are controlled, and since its youthfulness does not change, and it is unaging, since its life force does not alter, it is deathless, and since it never runs out, inexhaustible. Some Buddhists assert that liberation has material form. so, so commentary says, yeah. So now, this is if, there's the two things. If this is talking about the person who attained nirvana, then says, it is impossible to say you are free from the earth, water, fire, and the moon and sun. So whoever has physical form, so which means is the collections of the element, the collection of elements, and so you are not free from the water and the fire, the potential, the elements, potential elements, water and the earth and the wind, and then Ninda. Yeah. So if this is talking about, the cessation itself, nirvana itself, the very nature of the nirvana, so it is nothing it can change by any element. It cannot be changed. It cannot be changed by the earth element, water element, fire element, wind element, or the heat of the sun, or the coldness of the moon. So nirvana, nature of the nirvana is kind of permanent. You have permanently, there's permanent state of peace. Peace that's inexhaustible, plentiful, and all the time, never leave you, right? Never stop the peace that comes with nirvana. So that nirvana and the peace of that, it cannot be changed, by any elements. So because the afflictive emotion is totally ceased, and then there's some changes, usually physical forms can be changes through the four elements. The peace within nirvana cannot be changed by element. Sometimes it says, an disturbance in elements is also caused by the mind. Disturbance in elements is also caused by the mind, stirring up by the mental state. Mind stir up the elements and causes the imbalance, right? So once the mind is totally subdued and tamed and reach the state of permanent peace, so there is no any disturbance or causing any disturbance from the elements. And then, so there is no suffering of age, birth, and death. So if this is referring to the person, even the Buddha has died, But, arahats, all these arahats who attain nirvana, and, eventually they have to die. So it's now, so Buddha has defeated the Mara of the deaths, this is. and they in the Vabhashika school and the Vinaya texts, and how they prove because Buddha death is under the control of him. That's what it said, because Buddha announced that from now on, after 3 months, so I'm going pre-nirvana. So he decides when to die. So it means he can also extend his life if there's a necessary or it is something more significant or beneficial. So, but the nature of the body, you cannot disagree with the nature of the body. So now, then, if this is talking about the person and person who is liberation with residue, without residues. So the without residue means the Arhat or the Buddha who was once born as a human being, and he defeated all the afflictive emotions, and he free from all the cause of the suffering. But after the death, so they're born in the pure state of Brahmas, which is there is no any physical has any sign of aging and death for every youth. So yeah. So now the disciplines here, many times we say chultim. In Tibetan we call Tibetan words, languages, chultim. Chul is actions, activities, the way you do, how you do, way you say, how you say, way you think, how you think. So these are chul. And then that discipline. Now the way you do or say according to the knowledge, not just out of emotions, not out of afflictive emotions. You say things, do things according with wisdom that understands the dependent originations, or as a Buddha, Mayana, according to according to the compassions and bodhicittas. So that is called discipline. So disciplines, yeah. So that's the main thing is the discipline, yeah. So chultins is the discipline of your, your actions, and then and chul chels, there's another opposite of that discipline, So now this is a kind of pretending in hypocrisies. You have the way of doing, but you're not. You're just pretending. You're trying to show, and it's not your intention or your knowledge according to your knowledge. So, chul chel and chul tim are two things. Chul chels, and then this chul chel, the undisciplined or pretending, or has two things. One, pretending is, chul chel, yeah. So the undisciplined has two things. Undisciplined is doing something opposite of the disciplined, opposite of the 10 virtues. 10 virtues is not to kill, not to lie. You kill and you lie, So that is opposite. One, the undisciplined is, you try to, you discipline yourself. You discipline yourself. You try to be the best. You try it in the positive actions, and not for, not that you want other people to see it. So that is one of the undisciplined. You have no desire to be a good person, but you want others to see yourself as good persons. So that is also, sulchel. Sometimes you pretend you're doing meditations, when there's a people, the public, you try to be there, and you also get very tired. You don't want to do that, but you still, I cannot really stop this pretending because everybody's watching at me. So that's also sulchel. So sultim and sulchels. So discipline is free from, pretending and, the negative actions. And then here it says concentrations, but you say in Tibetan we call something. Something means, and maybe you have seen these pictures there. Meditation, the pictures that, the elephant and the monkey, you see. So usually this elephant, is the mind, and the monkey is the distractions. Rabbit is the dullness, So when you try to, tempt and train the elephant, you try to tempt the elephant. Once the elephant's tempt, so it's almost like, you have tied up the elephant with single-pointed object. So usually we say tempt the elephant or the horses or the cow, we try to find the rope and tie it up with something, so not to go, it will not go away to focus. So the mind to bring, closer, the mind to be steady and calm and not to distract, and you have to find, you have to tie your mind with particular object. So now here, the tiding, you have tied your mind with one particular object. So sometimes this is, concentration can be, for example, you can train with breathing meditations, focus on the mind, you tie your mind with object of breathing, or you try, and then all, in non-Buddhist scriptures, they says you are in the like black tent, the very thick, and and you just close everything and all dark inside. You just sit inside and poke tiny hole on that tent. And there's a tiny light, and you focus on that light. Try to be, single-pointedly, focusing on that small, tiny light, bright. So your whole, yourself and around you and all dark. There's nothing to see, but the only thing that you see is that. And then that is also one of the ways to tie your mind with one single object. So this is kind of, indicating that the mind, discomfort or the dissatisfaction of the mind, one of the cause of the why mind is dissatisfied, discomfort, unpleasant, is mind
when the mind is distracted. So now why the mind is distracted? Distracted with what? Distracted with imaginaries. Imagination of the favorable, imagination of the unfavorable. Mind is get excited, chasing the favorable imaginations. Right? It's become mind's getting wild, with, and sometimes mind, excited in, disliking the negative imaginations. So when you tie your mind with one single object for a period of time, you can avoid all those conditions which brings the disturbance and the distractions. So there's some kind of benefit to calm your mind. So not calm is because your mind is constantly chasing the imaginations, negative imaginations, the positive imaginations. So that's the one thing. Concentration means you need to tie up your mind with single object. That's the sometimes we say denizens, means single pointed. And another thing is why mind is constantly becoming dissatisfied and unhappy, or is because of the mind is some kind of like is sometimes the imprint, the habit, negative emotions, when they manifest, the minds become very cloudy. Mind could not see things clearly because this anger is too much, this attachment is too much, this jealousy is too much. So it creates its own fog in the mind, and mind get very depressed, stressed, very annoyed, irritated. So now the two things, because it's something that in the habit that constantly manifests in your mind, that's one of the cause for the discomfort and unpleasant. One, the mind is excited and chasing after the imaginations, the two things. So to bring your mind from the excitement, single-pointed meditations. To reduce or to undermine the intensity of the afflictive emotions. And, this single-pointed meditation is not going to help. So the strength, the push of this habit is so powerful, So for that, what you need wisdom, understanding. So understand the impermanence, understand the death, certainty of the death, understands, the precious, the kindness of sentient beings, so generally compassion, generally the realization emptiness, generally impermanence. So these are, now it is very much, required in order to suppress or undermine the intensity of the emotional. So that you need both meditations, single-pointed meditation and contemplations. Right. So contemplations, and then what is the contemplations? Thinking that meditating on, contemplating and or out of ignorance there is karma. Karma is always derived from ignorance. Ignorance means particularly grasping of self or person. I am. So more you have this thought, and and there's always the actions, which is driven by any negative emotions, afflictive emotions. So when there is the actions that done, driven by the negative emotions, so that is the karma. So when there is the karma, karma may, maybe you have done this particular actions for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and you change another karma action, and then each karma, once they, manifest, when they start functioning, it will stay for a while and not forever. So everything that action that is, happen. So once it ceases to exist, it never dissipates. It leaves the imprints within the consciousness. So it's kind of planting the seed. The mind is like a field. You plant the seed with karma, and then with planting the seed with karma, and then fertilized by your anger and attachment, particularly So here's the craving and the grasping is, right after the planted seed for positive or negative, craving and the grasping is fertilized. So then within the mind stream, there's so many karma that you have planted. The field of the mind has planted seed of the karma and constantly fertilized by craving and grasping. So then next slide, when you're born, and there's the first join of the consciousness and the new element. So that's called naming form. So now that changes, gradually changing the shape and all the designs, male, female, right? And then every week, there's a whole, how's that? The left side of the body, right side of the body, there's the nerve systems. So each of the air that goes through the nerve systems. So this, energy that is impacted, influenced by the karmic. So then you develop the faculties. The faculties like eye, sense power, ear, sense power, nose, sense power, within the mother's womb, right? So the energy, sometimes we call in Hindi, this Hindi language in Tibetan, we always use the wind. But, maybe people may understand the energies. Energy flows within the, within the nerve systems. So each of the nerve systems is the air, the energy that flows is the result of the karma. So karma is still, what's it called? Like the machine in the factories, making the bottles, lid, put the lid on it, So it's like that's the whole systems of functioning under the force of the karma and the afflictive emotions. So then, because of that, the influence is already there. And when you're born from the mother's womb, out of the mother's womb, and then with eye, the contact with this form, with the ear, the contact with the sound, the smell, each contact generates the feeling that is interpreted by your habit. So then with the habit, by seeing seeing the form, you don't really understand it is a dependent arising. It is independent. It is intrinsic. So then that feeling, naturally, not generating the wisdom, not generating compassion, it generates the craving. because at the present, before the eye has started seeing something, the system is just filled with this, the conditions. So you're ready to crave for something. And after the craving, the grasping, and then this continuously, spend whole life, and then just before the die, craving, grasping, craving, the grasping has already fertilized many of those karmic seeds. And then you, after the death, ready to give birth next life. So this kind of thinking, contemplate ignorance, karma, name and form, faculty, feeling, craving, grasping, process of becoming, birth, aging, and the death. And then you reverse the think. Why there's the aging and death? Because of the birth. Why there's the birth? Because of the process of becoming. Why there's the process of becoming? Because of the grasping. Why there's the grasping? There's the craving. Why there's a craving? There's the feeling. Why there's a feeling? There's the contact. Why there's the contact? There is the faculty. Why there's the faculty develop? And there's the name and form, the contact. Combination is join of consciousness and physical form. And why there's join? Why there is, what makes it, collectively combined? And then it says karma. Why there's the karma? And then ignorance. And then you say, oh, this is the root cause of this, cyclic existence. This is the root of all the suffering. And then you just contemplate how ignorance is, superimposing or projecting the I am. Then you contemplate, I conceive, my thought is conceiving I am as some kind of, solid, concrete, independent ownership. It owns the body, feeling, perceptions, emotions, everything. It's this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. Right? And then it says, as the thought conceives, the project, imposes the solid I am, what if that is the real? So if that is the real, that I could exist as the owner of the body, feeling, thought, and I am something independent, like me and my body, like me and my car. So so then this says, if there is, then that I is independent from the body. This must be like, either like a mountain, aggregates, like aggregates body, feeling, thought, emotions, perceptions are the 5 aggregates possessed by the self, I am. Now there's many aggregates that possessed by one thing, the solid, concrete existing. So then is it really like, can you imagine like there's a big mountain and all the trees and the animals, kind of attached to the mountain. So by cutting each of the trees, the mountain remains still. So if in this way, this I am existing, what's that? When the body dies, I still, intact. I should exist in, without dying. If your emotional change, so me is always there. So if, I am like that, so maybe, when you throw this, when you cut the one tree, the mountain has no change. So what if someone pinched on your body, your head? You may not be filled. It's the body. If you are one emotional sense of, like you have a sense of friendship with one person, and that person becomes enemy. So sense of friendship is gone. So are you still remain independent for the sense of freedom? So so there's some kind of, in this, so the self of the person in aggregate is not like a mountain and the trees. So in this way, there are not two different things. Not the mountain and the trees are like apple and orange. And then it says, so if there is some kind of self in the person that existing, and where he stays, where that I locate, where that I locate, inside the body, inside the perceptions. So inside, what if the I, the self person is, dwell or locate in the inside the body? So then, is it like a tiger in the forest, right? So the tiger can, anytime he can leave that forest, but he can come back. Can you do that? You just stays with body and go out from the body and come back again. So there is no such person like that. So, so this, which means, there is no me that independent or different from, remain different from the five aggregates. If not different, only one thing is left, one option has left is maybe one. Right? So no different, that means two or one, right? So you heard number two or you heard number one. So there are two options. If one, and then there are the problems because if you are the body, so the body is the collection of the elements. First, can you say, are you one with your meat, flesh, bones, moisture, the heats? Can you find yourself one with this? So if you are not one with this body, you are not one with this body, and of course you are not one with eye consciousness, air consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, mental consciousness. So you are not one and you are not different. So it means now, in a physical level, and physically, you cannot be one with the body. Physically, you cannot be different from the body. You are not different from the body because there is no me physically, remain existing separate from the body. So if you physically exist and separate from the body, so so then it's very, very difficult, So it's almost like, many times if your body is your body is lazy, don't want to move, but you want to get something to eat. So then say, I leave my body here. I will go and find the food. So that's the kind of this thing, right? So it is not physically you and your body, you and your feeling, you and your thought, you and your eye consciousness, you and your air consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness. Not the one, not the different. So now what left? If physically not different, but you cannot say it is one. Is it conceptually is a separate. Like, conceptually separate, like your body and your size of the body. So, and then space and empty of the space. Head and the size of the head. And, the clothes and the colors of the clothes. So these are also, conceptually in the language, it is separate. So now that separate cannot be substantial. It's not physically, we're not talking about physically. The leaf in the color of the leaf is separate, is not physically. Right? So, and then it's conceptual. So therefore we say conceptually distincted two separate phenomena. Right. So conceptually distincted two separate phenomena is, their separations is the property, private property of your language, private property of your thought. It always exists array to that particular, with relation to particular thought, with particular language. Other than that, there's no proof of their being separate. So language says it's separate. Your thought says it's separate. That is the only thing. So in this way, you and your body as separate is, conceptually constructed. So with the body, if you exist, and that is conceptually, with the language, is language has created. And that is the real to that language. Other than that, there is no any sign or any proof. For example, if you want to see with your eye, and me in my body, if you want to see with eye, you cannot see. They're two separate things. If you want to touch with hand, I want to touch you and not body. Or I want to touch body, not you. And then, and the tactile, the sensations, there is no proof you exist as a separate from the body. So the only things can be understood is with language. And then it says, in the language, you and your body is separate. And then it says, how the language knows that. How language knows there is me separate from the body. Language is no knowledge. Language is also the creation from the letters. Each of the letters has no potential, no capable of making anything existing. So the you and your body as separate is, conceptually, you construct, conceptually construct, that read, express through the languages. So language says, I'm just mimicking what you have imagined. I don't create any object. It's like I'm the tape recorder. I reads what's in the picture in your mind. So then finally, you are existing as a separate from the body is, mental, the abstract. So if the existence of the I am is the nothing but the abstract, for that abstract, you kill people, you lie to people, right? So you're just harmful to the others, just for that abstract. So that is very, very absurd. But we still do. Why? Because the habit. So we are told thousands, millions, billions times in our mind, we train our mind. Yes, the existence of me is something solid. Everything's for me. I say things for me. I say things, do things for me. So yeah, this kind of contemplation again and again, Now this through the contemplations generating the wisdoms, that wisdom has the potential to undermine, to reduce the intensity of the afflictive emotions. So you need both single-pointed meditations and analytical meditations, contemplations. So the analytical meditation and single-pointed meditations brings, the real wisdom, wisdom that, is not intellectual, is not really, understanding just through the informations. Right? The understanding through the informations, reading the books and listening, and yes, just keep saying yes, that's true. So I understand. So which means you are standing right under the informations. It's just I understand. So under means I'm that, under that, what you said. So this almost like amen, So through the contemplation, contemplations generate the wisdom realizing emptiness or the any kind of wisdom impermanence. So that is convictions. You are convinced with this, this truth, this reality, this, So, now this, discipline and the concentration and the wisdoms. So these are in the order. First, the discipline. Yeah. By discipline, what happens? It gives you more calm and steady, and then you find, there's more time for doing something better for myself. Undisciplined don't see anything that beneficial to myself because you are so distracted, overwhelmed by all the negative informations. So discipline brings more time and more opportunities or more calm state of mind, and that brings the concentration. Concentrations generates the wisdom, realizing, revealing the truth. And that, through that, these three conditions, and you will reach, only these three conditions, you will reach nirvana or the liberations. And nirvana means now, once you reach the nirvana, you don't need discipline. That state itself is perfectly disciplined. So that state, now you don't have to find the peace. Now you don't have to do something that benefits to you. You don't have to think, you don't have to say, you don't have to do. You are the peace. So this peace is not happy. Peace is also sometimes we say what's called when you feel very hot and you go to the air conditions, and then there's this there's more peaceful, and with very hot weather you stay under the tree. So these are pleasurable, pleasant experience. It's not the peace. The peace here is through pacification. By pacifying the cause of the suffering, you stop or you just reduce cause of the suffering, and that brings the pleasant is the peace. Pleasurable is not the peace. So you stop the cause of suffering, therefore you experience the pleasant and peace. So, and then they say, and once the nirvana is, and they reach the nirvana, and there is no the suffering of birth, aging, and death. And that nirvana, that peace, cannot be changed by any costly conditions. So 105 with discipline, concentration, wisdom to attain nirvana, and peaceful and disciplined, immaculate, unaging, the deathless, inexhaustible, quit, right? Distinct from, earth, water, fire, wind, sun, and moon. So even the elements has no potential to change the state of peace. So pleasurable is not peace because it can be changed by, the very condition that giving you a pleasant is gradually turned into cause of another suffering. By staying too long under the tree, maybe it's the problem, another problems. When they get tired by standing, you sit down too long, again, that has become suffering. So then so what you do, discipline, concentration, wisdom. So then said the mindfulness, 106, mindfulness, discernment, diligent, joyful mind. So joyful mind and flexibilities, concentrations, evenness. Yeah, there's just a whole bunch of words. So now this saying that, with concentration, the wisdoms, what include in this kind of practice, So it includes mindfulness, the discipline, concentration, wisdoms that include mindfulness, discernment. Discernment is, as I mentioned, the wisdom that is revealing the truth, determinations, perfectly understands, convincingly knowing something. So discernment. And that brings, diligence. Diligence means now, diligence, in general, the diligence means now you have more interest, more exciting in improving or increasing the positivities, positive thoughts, positive knowledge, And with that, so each time you practice, each time you reveal the truth, there is more joyful. There is a kind of state of mind is more fulfilling in your mind. So joyful. So here this is flexibilities. Flexibilities is sometimes is also in English translation there's appliances. As we call physical. Yeah, maybe I'm pronouncing it right. Appliances. Yeah. So is the physical appliances means now every part of your body, every physical part of your body, every joint, every element in the body is very much cooperating with your meditations, your knowledge. So when you reveal some kind of truth, and the whole body, even the elements get excited and they're very much cooperating with your minds. That's called appliances or flexibilities. There's two states, physical and mental appliances. So then that brings, again, the concentrations, denizens. So denizens, so when you have, mental appliances and the physical appliances, or mental kind of appliances, right? Is right? Right.
Agility.
Easy
to bend or move.
Yeah. Is kind of flexibility here. Body is more, physical bodies more cooperating with your mind, and your mental state is also very much enjoying and involved in your thinking, your feeling, everything's. When you have this mind, then your single-pointed meditation becomes so powerful, because whole element in the mental, whole system's minds is joining in that meditations. So then you have the both side in in the Tibetan when you read the 105, there's a concentration in the Tibetan language. This is samte, and the second line, and again the concentrations in Tibetan we says tingenze.
How they different?
So there's the concentrations, and tingenze is particular specific name to the mind which is single-pointedly, focused on tingenze. Tingzin. So in English and both there says the concentrations. So, and then that, as a result of this physical and mental appliances and strong single-pointed meditations, powerful single-pointed meditations, as a result, and the evenness, now the balance, the balance means you have, pretty much undermine or overcome or the reduce, what caused imbalance is anger and attachments. Now, anger and attachment is less, event, to active, as almost none. That does not mean you have abandoned them. Because this state is almost like an overpowered whole system. The body is overpowered by, conviction of the wisdoms, and stability of the single-pointed meditations, and whole mind, mental and the body is, flexibilities, cooperations, and that, put aside all this anger and attachments. There's no less food for the anger and attachment, So they don't have any grass to eat, So that's evenness is like that. These 7, mindfulness, discernment, diligence, joyful mind, flexibility, and single-pointed, and evenness. These 7 limbs are the element that lead to the Buddhahood. They gather the virtue and attain the state beyond all pain. So we're saying that's the for the liberations, you need those, before you are, perfecting this mindfulness, this, the wisdoms, you practice the discipline and the concentration and the wisdoms. There is first, you call path accumulation. You're accumulating, collecting, the methods, the techniques, the instructions for disciplining and methods, instructions, the informations for meditations, and the method, the instructions for the wisdom. And then you apply all of them, and then you generate the mindfulness, and discernment, and diligence. So then that gradually become the actual path, real path that leads you to the liberations. So the mindfulness, usually mindful means, be careful or be watchful, It's not like watch your step. So mindfulness in the so in Hindi, in Sanskrit, mindfulness is like dhyan, So dhyan. So in the Sanskrit word dhyan has many meanings. Sometimes it says if you are not one mindful, you are not focusing, and bring your dhyan, bring your mindful. And sometimes it says someone has passed away and gone dhyan, he died. So you have to bring all this meaning to the dhyan is sometimes with another sentence, words, it gives you the meaning of death. And sometimes it says, be mindful, be watchful, right? And then, when you single pointed meditations, so that is also being careful. Now you have to bring all the meaning truths, death, mindful, everything together. So which means once you single pointedly meditate, so there is the feeling of, loss of yourself. You could not have any notice of existing of yourself other than the object that you're focusing. So you are just lost in there. Existing disappears in that meditations. So there's some kind of meaning. The death meaning is there. You're lost. For a while you are passed away. You disappears. So that dhyan in the Tibetan translators, Tibetan translators translate to Mañjugosha. So it's more, it is, and like in the Sanskrit word, the dhyan is, it's just the word. It has, defined or interpreted in many meanings, but the word by itself is not saying anything. And so the Tibetan translators knows that. Now, for the Tibetan, we have to show specific. You cannot just use the Sanskrit word. So it's a temba nyevashavas. Temba means the mind, or kind of mindful or remembering. Your memory or your focus. Temba. Nyevashavas means placing closer to what you are meditating. So your mind has to bring closer to the object, is the mindful. So tempa nyevashavas. Sometimes, it's more clear. More clear, but sometimes something, the word which is not clear has, some more meaning in there. because it's empty, you can put anything in it. So the mindfulness is a temba nyevasava. Your thought or your, attentions bring closer to the object, Mañjugosha was. So discernment, discernment is kind of, there's a almost like determine or the ascertain, convictions. So that is not just from the information you just kind of create some kind of knowledge, and your knowledge is not in your heart, it is in that information. So it kind of is borrowed knowledge. You just temporarily you have rented. If the information you forgot, that knowledge is also gone. So you have to keep fresh that information. As long as the information is there, you have this kind of knowledge. Because knowledge hasn't landed in your mind. So the discernment is something different from it. Discernment is something that is sink in your wisdoms. So that is the wisdom, the two kind of wisdoms. Wisdom that is really, landed, within your mind. The wisdom that is really, the built within you is the discernment. So now for the liberations, you need these 7 limbs, this 7 of mindfulness, the discernment. These are the real vehicle that can travel to the liberations. So that if your wisdom is just intellectual, just rented for a while, and that cannot be used as a vehicle to the enlightenment or the liberations. So yeah, that's the 106. Now they're saying, so that the wisdom and the concentrations, they're saying that lacking wisdoms, concentration fails. So you lost your object, you lost your focus, because you have no knowledge of anything. So you have no object, no focus, no object to focus, because you have no knowledge. So, and then someday members, without the concentration, wisdom too, it fails. So something that is, the intellectually you have collectively kind of developed some kind of knowledge. Now, if you don't contemplate, if you make sure to convince to the mind, and then, that fails to generate the real understanding. So sometimes the wisdom is, this particular wisdom we can call, sometimes it's knowledge from the informations. So knowledge, wisdom from the informations and the concentrations are mutually depending, mutually beneficial. Wisdom from the informations that gives you, the kind of, the real interest to focus, that concentrations. And then the more you concentrate, more you contemplate, and that gives you the firm understanding, or so actual the wisdom that reveals the truth that comes. For someone who has both, Samsara seas filled no more than the print left by the hoof. Kana dini yuba siba yisa, yazu naja dabu tsewajis. So, yeah, the Nagarjuna is saying, yes, this is possible, but so yeah, sometimes this kind of metaphor, is samsara seas, jajun naji. Samsara is sibayis, kana dini yuba, sibayi jasu, sibayi, jasu naji tabu sibajis, jasu. I think there's the two, sometimes the language is, for someone has both the wisdom and the consultations. And then it says, someone who is that someone? so then I think this translator translate Siva is, so here Siva can be, understood as possible. Someone can have both, it is possible. Then you cannot translate that to samsara. So so gyatso nangchedabus, here if you don't translate, like for someone has both, it is possible, instead of saying samsara. And then it says gyatso si, gyatso nangchedabus, what's that? On the oceans, on the side of the oceans, there is the sand. So when the animals walk on the sand, the print left. So the print, if you have to go right away, otherwise the wave will kind of erase all the prints. So this is saying that yes, these are possible. This is both can be possible to individual, but if you don't, if you keep prospering, maybe I'll find it, maybe next month or next life. Oh, when I get older, then I will find the path of liberations. Then says, things that you're trying to find is the prints on the, on the shore of the oceans.
You still have to work hard at it.
Yeah, so you have to, every time you see, you have to just go there, you have to get it. You cannot just keep prospering or, reluctant, you cannot do that. So this will, shy away, it disappears very fast. So when I read this, it's not really samsara. For someone who has both, it is possible. And how it is possible? It is possible like, the prints of the hoof around the oceans, right? So when you say, is there animal, around there, sometimes animals just come and drink the water, or they just walk around, they leave the prints. Maybe the moment the animal go away, the wave comes, erase all the prints. So this is how, it is hard to find. So maybe this is not, correct translation. Samsara sees feel no more than prints left by its hoof. So this is just simply, this example is saying, what is the example of that possible of having both? And then, this is like the prints that left, the print of the hoof of animals that left around the ocean. So it is possible, but you have to see it freshly. If you don't, if you say, maybe I'll just, after 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe the wave is already erased. The print is gone.
Gives almost opposite meaning, almost like if you have both of them, you can easily cross the samsara or something.
Yeah.
Rather than you have to work hard at it.
So this is why, and there's a Lama Tsongkhapa text in the lecture settings, the very early, the age of Lama Tsongkhapa, maybe around 25. So there's a whole commentary on the Prajnaparamita Sutras. So you see that Lama Tsongkhapa has texts, the books that he composed, so the early, life of his commentary, and the middle and the end there's a different. So you can see how he has, improved his understanding. So the first, during the age 25, the text, whole commentaries at the end, he says that there's always, how's that? Frightening the mind when I heard this, how's that? The dependent originations, empty of intrinsic. He say, I could not bear this. So, and then in the later his life of the books, like a commentary on the Nagarjuna's text, and very precise and very detailed explanations. So, he at that time he find there's a sign, he did not let it go. He continues to hold on it and try to understand deeper and deeper. So if Lama Tsongkhapa says, "Oh, I have some kind of sense of knowing," maybe I'll dig, go deeper. Maybe after 20 years, 10 years, so then we don't have the great Lama Tsongkhapa. So he at that time he said, even it's frightening, but he kind of persistently working on it. So this is like the hoof, the prints of the hoof that you find around the oceans. So it just appears in your mind, some kind of meaning. Oh, this maybe, and don't just let it go. You just, you're just, persisting. One day you can see real animals walking on the prints, living in prints. So for sure, it's not a samsara sea is filled with no more of them. So yeah, and then here's a 108, the kismet, right? Kinsman of the sun did well pronounce. The kinsman is referring to the Buddha, Shakyamuni. So one of his name, the kinsman. So Nyimenye, you will call Nyimenye. Kinsmen of the sons did well pronounce with silence on the 14 worldly point. On this you must not ponder or reflect, with them, your mind will never be at peace. So I think this is talking about, particularly this letter to his friend, the laypersons. Maybe that king have, heard many teaching, but he did not rigorously study. So if he keep pondering on the 14 points, like the self of the person, is it permanent or impermanent? Or is it both, or it's neither? And then it says, this life has a beginning, no beginning. It has an end or no end. So this kind of keep thinking from the beginning, it will kind of distract your mind and you find no point. So when they're saying that don't waste time on this, first, something that is, something that is, something that, you can find, you can know, like impermanence, dependent originations, and then the liberations and compassions. So you just things that you can understand. If you gain, more knowledge in impermanence and dependent originations, that, and you then, once you have fuller knowledge, then you can, once you ponder on those self is permanent and not permanent, is it both or is none, or the cycle, cycle of life, has it ever end or not, has it beginning or not, So in the Nagarjuna's, it's not saying that the pondering or the reflect on the 14 points of the mundane, reflections, is not saying if you think about that, it will, there's no benefit at all. It's saying for the beginner, you don't spend time. In Nagarjuna chapter 24, there's a saying, so takvayana medavayana. If self of the person, is it permanent or impermanent? If it's the permanent, then what happened? Your body is impermanent, yourself is permanent. Right? So then your body died, you cannot die. So when your body eats, you are not eating, but still you are not hungry. But you have no desire to eat. Your body has a desire to eat. So then you want to stay home, body want to go. So there's a lot of conflict between you and your body, because you are permanent. You have no desire. You cannot get sick. The body is sick. Then probably you don't really want to spend money for the body because it's your money. So then you say, I can change anytime, anybody, So if impermanence, they think that if yourself is impermanent, like the body has next life, the body has no next life. This body is not continuing in the next life. So which means you have no next life. So these kind of questions. So Nagarjuna says, for the beginner, don't spend time on this. So if you have fuller knowledge of the dependent originations, then you can understand, you know. Like Saturday is the disintegrating. Don't worry, Saturday will not be, turned into nothingness. It will turn Sunday. And the Sunday disintegrates, the Monday will come. So that is the continuities. It's impermanent, that all because of the impermanent. Otherwise, Saturday say, I'm going to stay forever. Every day I'm Saturday. So we don't have Friday, Wednesday, Tuesday, right? So it's good that Saturday is impermanent, so we can have Sunday, So the person who do not understand exact meaning of impermanence, so they interpret impermanence means something is going to be end and become turned into nothingness. So there is no such thing. Even if you burn the incense, the smoke, it ceases to exist, but it's not going turning into nothingness. If turn into nothingness, if someone comes, what you burn, how do they know? Because the smoke has become nothingness. How can the person who come, So nothing is turning nothingness. So this person's contemplating it, reflecting, is it permanent, impermanent? And then permanent has problem, impermanence has problems. Because, what is the main, what is in their mind, they find that permanent has a problem, impermanent has a problem. What is it? So they sees everything is inherent, intrinsic. So there is no, for them, there is no, mental creations. They don't have mental construct. There is no, probably they could not really understand the mirage and the reflections, the mirror images, reflection of the moon in the waters, So they exist relatively, they don't have any essence by themselves. So they don't really understand that. So they think everything is what you see as a concrete and solid and do exist by their own essence. So then if intrinsic, independent object by itself become permanent or impermanent, So if someone asks, is there end of this cycle existing or not? And then there's Nagarjuna says, anything that born out of cosmic conditions, so born out of cosmic conditions, which is disintegrating and there is no continuations, it is a finite, it's limited. Anything that is once born from cosmic condition itself not disintegrating, there's no new is coming. It is infinite. So what you are you the one that is born from cosmic conditions, it's not disintegrating, and there is no new you coming. Right? So maybe you are kind of more solid than the mountains and oceans. Oceans also, they disintegrate. The mountains disintegrate. You, born from the cosmic condition, you don't really disintegrate. So you are infinite. So it's not really, it's not respectable infinite. It's, So, samsara has end because samsara is, by nature, is disintegrating. There is the possible to end the birth in the second existence. Therefore, samsara is not infinite. Samsara can be end, like the barley seed. The barley seed is continuously giving rise or giving birth to another sprout. From that sprout, another seed. That seed produced another sprout continuously. Once the seed, which is burned, destroyed, it will stop. In this way, cycle existing is continuously cycling, until the samsara, through destroyed by wisdom realizing emptiness. So samsara is keep burning like a lamp, like fire that continuously burning. Once the oil in the wicks is exhausted, they stop burning. So like once the karma and the afflictive emotions is destroyed and ended, and the life cannot recycle again. So therefore, the life is not infinite. So Nagarjuna said, do not ponder as we ponder. So we say, oh, this is for ordinary people. It's not like us. Okay, any questions? Chanju Simjo Rinpoche, Mañjugosha, Jesuji, Jeva Nyamba, Meva, Kone Kondo Pebbles. Tonya Dawa Rinpoche, Mañjugosha, Jesuji, Jeva Nyamba, Meva, Kone Kondo Pebbles. Pama Simja Tamja, Deda Denju, Ngendro Tamja Dabo, Tonga, Chanju Simba, Kona Suju, Teda Bunja, Molong Jujuji, Karera Veko Vishima, Panda de Woman, Juven, Jeresam, Tinzin Jansu, Shabe Sidebado, Denjuji.
May the precious body mind that kept on rising grow. May the bone have no decline but increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness not yet on rising grow. May the bone have no decline but increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings have all their happiness, and may all lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness, more powerful Chenji Tenzin Gyatso. Remain in this world until samsara ends.
Thank you.